My name is Tim Wadsworth, and as the chair of the Department of Sociology, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome everyone to the 2021 virtual graduation ceremony for the Department of Sociology at the University of Colorado Boulder. Today, we will be honoring those graduating with Bachelor of Arts degrees, master's degrees, and doctoral degrees. This event marks a major milestone, and it's a time to celebrate the accomplishments of students. And so to our graduates, we say congratulations. Your efforts have paid off and you've achieved what you've been working towards for the last 4 or more years. Take a breath, smell the flowers, savor for a moment the success that you've earned. We wish we could honor your achievements in person at the Boulder Theater with loud cheers, cupcakes, and lots of photo ops. But given the current situation, we'll do it this way instead. Hopefully, we can still capture the essence of the celebration. And of course, feel free at any point to cheer, hug your loved ones, take pictures, and if you have them, eat cupcakes. But of course, this event is not only about our graduates. As students of sociology, you know that achievements are not simply the result of individual efforts. Rather, they are also conditioned by the social networks in which you are embedded. Indeed, none of you would be here today were it not for others who cared for you, inspired you, supported you, and encouraged you along the way. And so I would like for all of us to take a moment to appreciate all the grandparents of our graduates, the parents of our graduates, the siblings, the significant others, and all of the other friends and relatives that helped make this achievement possible. Graduates, if we were all together today, I would encourage you to express your appreciation and gratitude to all who've helped you get to this point by standing and giving them the ovation they all deserve. As we can't do that together, I encourage you to appreciate them in whatever way feels appropriate to you on this special day. In addition to family and friends, I would like to take a moment to express my appreciation to the department's amazing staff, Patty Burton, Carrie Bagley, and Bridget Sellinger, who made this event possible and make the department run smoothly throughout the year. And to sociology's primary and very well-loved advisor, Michael Lynn. And of course, to all of my colleagues on the faculty. We all understand and appreciate the sacrifices individuals and families make to obtain a degree. Sacrifices include deferred gratification, additional present and future financial costs, including student loans and foregone wages. Getting a college degree can be difficult, expensive, and at times exhausting. But the benefits of this degree are substantial. Investing in a college education may actually be the best investment a person can make. And the returns on the investment are remarkable and endure over time. Compared to individuals who never receive a college education, college graduates on average will have better employment opportunities, will have fewer stressors, including fewer marital and family problems. They will earn more each year and over their lifetimes. They'll enjoy greater satisfaction at their work. They generally will have fewer financial problems, and they'll live longer and healthier lives. The research also suggests that generally they will be happier. The benefits of a college education, and especially a degree in sociology, however, go far beyond just these individual returns. College enables you to look beyond yourself. It challenges you to rethink your preconceptions of how the world works. It teaches you about others, viewpoints, and experiences. It exposes you to the plight of the less fortunate and those denied justice. Alerts you to the larger social forces that shape individual life chances. And it cultivates the critical thinking that's so needed to address community, national, and worldwide problems. In short, college offers a much broader understanding of the human condition, an understanding that you may not always be able to cash in on, but can enrich your life and the lives of those around you in perhaps much more significant ways. In thinking about the culmination of your college experience, this is probably not the senior year you had in mind. It's been a challenging time for sure. For over a year, we've been battling the worst pandemic of at least a century. We've experienced ongoing protests in response to institutionalized racial violence and injustice, epic climate-driven wildfires, and an extremely high level of political polarization and distrust. Responding to all of these and so many other challenges requires participation from a variety of academic disciplines. But as they all involve the beliefs, attitudes, experiences, and behaviors of groups and people, sociology is essential to a deeper understanding of their causes and their consequences. A sociological perspective that encourages us to engage in critical thinking, systematic investigation, and a thoughtful engagement is needed now, perhaps more than ever before. And you have that perspective. You are in a better position than many to use your education to identify the problems, discover the solutions, and in some way, big or small, make the world a better place. May you go forth and do so. At this point in our program, I would like to introduce our undergraduate commencement speaker, Megan Costa. Megan is an undergraduate research assistant at the Institute for Behavioral Science, and her research interest focuses on the intersection of prisons and natural disasters. Please welcome Megan Costa.
Good morning. It is my pleasure to welcome fellow students, friends, families, and CU faculty and staff to the 2021 commencement. I want to take a moment of our time together to tell you a bit of my story. When I was 17, I came to CU with a dream of becoming a doctor. I began my academic journey in 2014, so it's fair to say things didn't go quite as I had planned. After just barely passing my courses and struggling with the adjustment to college life, I did what everyone warned against. I left school. As a first-generation college student, this was a challenging decision. Friends and family took pity on me, and worse, people doubted that I would ever return to graduate. I felt like a failure. I tell you this because this experience taught me a valuable lesson we can all learn from, but are never truly prepared for. Failure happens, and it happens often. When we think of failure, we interpret it as something bad, something to be ashamed of. But sometimes failure can have good outcomes. This experience turned me to the social sciences, allowed me to return and succeed in academia, and join you here at graduation today. Failure teaches us more about ourselves than anything else in the moment. So I ask you, what if you stopped thinking of failure as a negative part of your life? Now, take a minute to look back at the times you failed over your many semesters here at CU. A paper that didn't get the grade you wanted, or not getting the internship that you were set on. Although today we are celebrating our successes, making our way across the virtual stage, I want to remind us all that these failures are what helped us get here. When I returned to CU, I was eager to forge a new path, and like many of you, enrolled in a few sociology courses, thinking that at a minimum, it would help fulfill some credits. It did much more than that. Sociology opened my eyes to the social world by providing me with a lens to understand inequality, deviance, and even climate change. If I had never failed at my original dream, I would never found this incredible discipline. Sociology impacts each and every one of us and has sculpted us into better versions of ourselves, ones that deconstruct all aspects of social life and helps to cultivate empathy. None of us know what the future holds. Some of us may go on to become doctors, accountants, stay-at-home parents, you name it. But there is one thing we should expect. There will be times of failure. When those moments come, be prepared to listen and learn and reflect on your time here at CU and those times you failed and still made it to graduation day. To the class of 2021, understand that life is full of failures and that those failures combined have brought you this success today. Life is not linear, and that is okay. Although our families may still question what we are going to do with a sociology degree, I have faith in every one of us that we will change the world. Whether you plan to binge watch Netflix or become the first female president, embrace your failures and remember that ultimately you will succeed just like you are today.
Greetings, everybody. My name is Jill Harrison, and I'm Associate Professor of Sociology here at CU, and I'm also the Undergraduate Chair for the department. And first of all, I just want to say congratulations. Sincerely, congratulations to all of you who are graduating today. It is a huge accomplishment, and you've been through a lot during your time here. And I know that it's not been the easiest past year. And we are just so proud of you for everything that you've accomplished, even with all of these challenging circumstances. So I get the pleasure right now of announcing the winners of our Undergraduate Awards for the department, and there are two of them. The first is the Val B. and Helen W. Fisher Award. So this is an annual award given in honor of Val B. Fisher and Helen Waltmeyer. Val and Helen met while attending CU. They married in 1911. Val taught at CU and also served as a regent in the 1930s, and he was active in alumni affairs until his death in 1945. The scholarship commemorates Val's great concern that CU and its students be agents for social betterment. After Helen's death in 1978, the trustees added her name to the scholarship in recognition of her warm humanity and longstanding concern for students. The Fisher Award comes with a financial stipend, and this year's Fisher Award for Sociology goes to Megan Costa. And I want to share with you a few words from the lovely nomination letter submitted by my colleague, Professor Lori Peak, who wrote, "I have known Megan for nearly 3 years now, and she continues to impress me with her commitment to the sociological study of society, her service to family and community, and her dedication to teaching and learning. She always supports and uplifts those around her, helping all of us to find our best selves. I am not the only professor who has recognized Megan's fabulous work ethic and academic talent. Her interest in social justice surrounding the death penalty and law resulted in Dr. Michael Radelet inviting Megan to serve as an undergraduate teaching assistant for his 40-student death penalty class. Megan plans to pursue graduate study in this area, and I have no doubt that she will be a highly successful candidate. She is a talented, highly motivated, and hardworking student with a bright future ahead. Everyone here at the Natural Hazard Center thinks the entire world of her, and we are all hoping that she will be recognized for her academic achievements and her contributions to research, teaching, and service. And with this award, we recognize her for exactly those reasons. Congratulations, Megan." The second award that I'm going to tell you about is the Jim Downton Award. So Dr. Jim Downton was a professor in the Department of Sociology here at CU for many years, and he was head of the INVEST program, which is the International National Volunteer Service Training Program, which trained and coordinated service learning volunteers. His creative intelligence and selfless generosity to others are honored in this award, which celebrates the fusion of academic achievement with service to the community. The Jim Downton Award comes with a financial stipend, and this year's award goes to Taylor Hirschberg. And I want to share with you a few words from the nomination letter that was submitted by my colleague, Professor Lori Hunter. She writes, "Taylor Hirschberg thoroughly embodies Professor Downton's fusion of academic achievement with service. Our campus, the city of Denver, and the state of Colorado more generally have all been fortunate recipients of Taylor's passion and generous spirit." Professor Hunter elaborated at length about Taylor's extensive and honestly humbling array of contributions to various communities of which he has been a member, including starting a grassroots organization in Brazil to provide HIV testing and support for people with HIV/AIDS. In regards to that first example, Professor Hunter wrote, quote, "This impressive story demonstrates a pattern that you'll notice throughout. Taylor has often come to recognize an issue and subsequently dive in deeply, reaching out to others to enhance recognition of the challenge, as well as often leaving behind an organization and or other structure to further address the issue," end quote. I'll just say that his other contributions are so numerous that I cannot list them all, but they include serving as a mayoral appointed member to the Denver City HIV Resources Planning Council, serving as a governor-appointed member of the Colorado HIV Alliance for Prevention, Care, and Treatment, recruiting donations to help neighbors in Denver pay off the expenses of vandalism, starting a microloan program for the same neighborhood, volunteering his time in other ways to support LGBTQIA youth facing challenges at home, and on top of all of that and so much more, writing an honors thesis, maintaining a 4.0 GPA in sociology, and getting a certificate in public health. Congratulations, Taylor, on all of your accomplishments. And with that, we recognize you with the Jim Gowton Award. Congratulations to our award winners. We are so proud of you, and we are so proud to have you among our leaders in our graduates this year.
I'm Rachel Rinaldo, faculty member in the Sociology department and the director of the graduate program in Sociology. Each year, the graduate program recognizes graduate students for outstanding research paper, teaching, and other forms of general scholarship. These awards are very competitive, and this year we had so many exceptional applicants, which speaks to the quality of the work our students are doing. The Outstanding Research Paper Award recognizes an outstanding research paper that may be theoretical or empirical, qualitative, quantitative, or mixed methods in its approach. This year, the following two papers will be recognized for the Outstanding Research Paper Award. The first one is Risk, Medicalization, and Obstetric Interventions, Explaining the Rising Use of Cesarean Deliveries and Induction of Labor by Andrea Tilstra. Rates of obstetric interventions, including cesarean deliveries and induction of labor, increased during the late 1990s and early 2000s in the United States for women of different racial and socioeconomic backgrounds. Using theories of medicalization and risk and quantitative analyses of secondary data, this paper describes and examines the macro sociological phenomena that have contributed to changing patterns of obstetric interventions. In addition, the work explores trends and risk discourse through the analysis of various influential documents. Ultimately, the paper argues that the increasing use of obstetric interventions is shaped by shifting narratives of risk generated by powerful medical and financial institutions. The second paper we'd like to recognize is called Biotechnologizing or Seed Sovereignty, Unraveling the Diversity of Resistance to GMOs in Guatemala by Carrie C.A. Fleming. Until 2019, Guatemala upheld a de facto moratorium on GMOs. Recent legislation that would undo this progress, however, has been met with little resistance. Drawing on interview and observational data, this paper demonstrates how urban professional class Guatemalans who oppose GMOs draw on scientific and technical arguments divorced from broader political economic critiques. Meanwhile, campesinos and indigenous activists center their resistance to GMOs within broader structures of oppression connected to capitalism, colonialism, and racism. This case study contributes to current scholarship on hegemony and reveals significant impediments to creating a more just food future in Guatemala. Huge congratulations to Andrea and Carrie. The Wilson Outstanding Graduate Teaching Assistant Award is an endowed award given in recognition of outstanding performance as a graduate teaching assistant. The 2021 recipient of the Wilson Teaching Assistant Award is Teresa Edwards Capon. Teresa has TA'd for a range of classes in the department, and the graduate committee is thrilled to recognize her for her contributions to undergraduate teaching and learning. Teresa was nominated for her performance as a TA in two of our largest enrollment classes, Introduction to Sociology and Deviance in U.S. Society, as well as an upper division class, Sociology of Death and Dying. Teresa has a well-developed teaching philosophy centering on respect for learning and for the students that she clearly admires. Her teaching evaluations are absolutely glowing, and students respect Teresa in turn. Students comment on her patience, enthusiasm, care, good humor, and kindness. During this difficult time of the pandemic, her contributions in and out of the classroom have been especially important as students have turned to her for academic and personal support. Congratulations, Teresa. The Outstanding Graduate Teacher Award is given in recognition of a graduate student's outstanding performance in the mentoring and teaching of undergraduate students. We had an unusually strong group of candidates this year. The 2021 award goes to Asa Yakabuchi. The committee was especially impressed with Asa's statement as well as the incredibly strong student comments about the teaching and learning environment of his courses. His integration of current news events related to last summer's nationwide protests against police brutality and racism into his teaching required both effort and passion, and it was very clear that these factors were noticed and much appreciated by his students. To see this type of student support at ACE's early career stage is truly exceptional and suggests an important career ahead. Congratulations to ASA. The Ralph and Barbara Dakin Award was made possible by an endowed gift to the department by Ralph Dakin, who received his PhD from the department in 1958, and his spouse, Barbara. The purpose of the award is to recognize outstanding scholarship that contributes to peace, intercultural understanding, resolution of conflict, or amelioration of important social problems. Award nominations are made at the end of each academic year by the faculty of the Department of Sociology. This year, we have two winners of the Ralph and Barbara Dakin Award. The first winner is Berta Bermudez Tapia, whose dissertation, Violence, Restriction of Asylum, and Deportation, focuses on the experiences of deportees and asylum seekers at the US-Mexico border. As her faculty nominators wrote, this study has strong potential to meaningfully advance scholarly understandings of power, race, migration, and violence, to inform migration policy debates, and to engage in public debates about the stark conditions experienced at the Mexico-US border. In addition to this important work, Berta is also dedicated to raising social awareness about the violent effects of US immigration policy. As part of this effort, she co-coordinates and hosts a participatory art project here at the university titled Hostile Terrain, in which students, faculty, and community members create toe tags for migrants who lost their lives crossing the desert. The second winner of this year's Ralph and Barbara Dakin Award is Kim Trung Vu. Kim's multi-methods dissertation deals with an important, highly sensitive, and extremely understudied topic: the low rates of uptake of human papillomavirus vaccinations among children and youth, particularly in the Vietnamese American community. Kim's training in critical race theory and feminist theory helps her contribute a crucial intersectional lens for understanding how structural and cultural factors together can contribute to disparities in vaccination. Kim has played an important role as well in developing community among our graduate students, and she currently serves as the graduate student coordinator for the Institute of Behavioral Sciences Interdisciplinary Graduate Training Program. As her faculty nominators write, we have been tremendously impressed with her initiative, organizational capacity, creativity, commitment, and ability to listen and respond to the needs of others. Congratulations to Berta and Kim. Finally, the Betsy Moen Walk the Talk Award is given each year to a graduate student in the sociology department who epitomizes the legacy of Elizabeth Betsy Moen Mathiat. Betsy was an associate professor of sociology at CU who died in 1993 while doing field work on women's reproductive health in India. Dr. Moen left a unique legacy of feminist scholarship and social action. Each year, the department gives an award to a student whose research and service reflects this legacy of feminist social justice. This year's Betsy Moen Award Committee consisted of myself, Amanda Stevenson, and Jax Gonzalez. And this year, we would like to recognize two students, one as an honorable mention and one with the full award. The honorable mention goes to Simone Domingue. Simone's dissertation research uses in-depth interviews and participant observation to examine disaster aid disparities. During her time as a graduate student at CU, Simone conducted an innovative ethnography of climate change adaptation injustices in coastal Louisiana. Her career objective is to create a research program that advances equitable approaches to climate adaptation and hazard mitigation, and she is committed to publicly engaged scholarship. Simone's graduate colleague, Kim Trong-Vu, nominated her for this award, and she wrote that Simone's ability to obtain trust and rapport with her research participants shows how her scholarship reflects feminist and critical race commitments. Kim also noted that in the Department of Sociology, Simone has demonstrated her activism and support for other students by leading the Climate Survey and the Sociology Graduate Student Collective. The winner of the Betsy Moen Award this year is Marley Olson. Marley engages in critical cultural research that contributes to investigating issues of rights and exclusions and challenges dominant assumptions about conditions and recovering silenced voices. Marley has been a scholar of gender since her early days in the department, but her current work extends feminist scholarship far beyond issues of sex and gender to engage with inequities across all human conditions, including disability status. Her innovative dissertation examines the gendered aspects of brain injury, investigating how gender contributes to legitimacy deficits experienced by people with concussion and traumatic brain injury. And she looks at how men and women navigate their recovery and disability. Inspired by her own experience as a survivor of brain injury, Marley has done a great deal of volunteer work. She currently serves as a grant writer for the Brain Injury Association of Colorado and as a helpline representative connecting patients and caregivers with local resources. After having done research on women struggling with hair loss, Marley also grows her hair out and donates it every 2 years to a nonprofit, Beautiful Lengths, that accepts hair donation and provides wigs at no cost to women who have lost their hair due to cancer treatment. The committee fully agrees that Marley embodies the spirit of the Betsy Moen Award. Congratulations, Simone and Marley. We now move on to the conferring of PhDs. The PhD is the highest degree awarded in academia. To achieve this degree, students usually spend 6 to 8 years or longer in a graduate program, and they write a dissertation based on substantial independent research. They continue on to careers in academia or many other fields. This year, we are thrilled to have 4 terrific PhD graduates. They will be introduced by their advisors. Congratulations to them all.
Hi everyone, my name is Ryan Masters. I am an assistant professor in the Department of Sociology at the University of Colorado Boulder. And right now I am wearing funny robes, which means it's time for pomp and circumstance. I wish I was doing this in person, but I have been asked to discuss the successes, the triumphs, and the dissertation of Dr. Andrea Tilstra, who successfully defended her dissertation entitled Social and Institutional Factors Driving Trends in U.S. Obstetric Interventions, and has been awarded a PhD in sociology. I'm absolutely thrilled at the successes by Dr. Tilstra as a co-advisor and a co-author of hers for the last 4 or 5 years. It's been a remarkable journey and incredibly proud moments of seeing the successes that Andrea has had. Her dissertation being the culmination of all of these. The dissertation itself, I think, was an incredible success for a number of reasons. She will probably be the first to tell you how much time that she devoted to compiling a number of original data sources for her work. She used a number of different methods to analyze trends in rising rates of cesarean deliveries and rising rates of labor inductions within the United States. And I think most of all, what was celebrated as successful in her dissertation was that the theoretical frame and the perspective that she took was very much in a long tradition of what social researchers refer to as fundamental cause theory, which tries to understand health outcomes and differences in health outcomes not as a result of individual characteristics, but rather as outcomes of persisting social inequalities, policies, economic and social conditions that shape differential risk, that shape institutional attitudes and perceptions of risk, and the use of health interventions such as labor introductions and cesarean deliveries. And so her work nicely is pushing health practitioners to reconcile how their institutional cultures, financial incentives, and policies are shaping their actions by overusing, arguably, a number of health interventions such as labor induction and cesarean deliveries. So the work is a fantastic contribution that draws from sociological theories, but also engages epidemiological work, public health, and healthcare practices more broadly. I see nothing but success in publishing these works going forward, and I've had a wonderful time working with Andrea on a number of related works. And I think it is for this reason that I'm most going to miss Andrea. She has been a unique type of scholar, student, and collaborator, in that she's incredibly meticulous, very organized, which I always appreciate. And she's fantastically driven and tenacious in her consumption of knowledge and production of knowledge through her work ethic. Her family should be incredibly proud and hopefully incredibly welcoming in the career that she has chosen, because I think she is on an upward trajectory that I will certainly enjoy watching as she goes on to Oxford for the next 3 years for a prestigious postdoctoral work at the Leverhulme Institute for Demographic Research. So she will be dearly missed, but at the same time, missed for all the right reasons that I see nothing but successes ahead, and I will certainly miss her. It's sort of appropriate that I'm kind of tearing up because I think when I look back on my time working with Andrea, the time was probably bookended by two notable examples of tears. The first, prior to me working with Andrea as one of her co-advisors, she was presenting work at a workshop that I rightfully, but probably a little harshly, overly criticized. And I think the frustration overwhelmed Andrea, and she responded, as she oftentimes does, with tears. So that was the first book, but after having worked with her and understanding our different styles and working, I think, quite well together to produce a number of works, culminating in her dissertation, I was happy to have received a text picture from Andrea in which her friend had captured the celebratory moment of happy tears when she had finished her dissertation defense in such a triumphant way. And so I think it's quite appropriate then that our time together is wrapped up with happy tears, happy memories, and again, nothing but celebrations going forward. I've also just recently heard, quite appropriately, I would, although I am biased, the first chapter of Andrea's dissertation, which is a nice expose and sort of understanding of recent history of litigation, financial incentives, and such that shape the use of obstetric interventions in the United States, has recently been recognized by the graduate committee as outstanding work and will be awarded the best graduate paper this year. As I said, it's been no surprise to me the successes that have come Andrea's way. And again, I see nothing but successes in the near future. So again, I wish I was there in person to celebrate and congratulate you, Andrea, but hopefully in the near future. But I hope everybody else joins me in congratulating you and wishing you all the best in your next steps of your career as you move on to Oxford. Take care. Hope to chat soon. Bye.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jill Harrison, and I'm an associate professor of sociology here at CU. And I am also one of Simone Domingue's co-advisors for her dissertation. And I share this job with my colleague, Dr. Kathleen Tierney, who will say a few words to you about the incredible research that Simone has been conducting for her PhD.
As you know, climate change is the existential threat of our time. And while communities and societies around the world are looking at ways and implementing strategies for reducing greenhouse gas emissions, they're increasingly having to adapt in the face of climate change because the adverse effects of climate change are already being felt. Here in the United States, Louisiana is sort of the ground zero in terms of the negative effects of climate change, which together with the activities of the oil and gas industry are resulting in land loss on a massive scale. In her dissertation, Simone Domingue focuses on the climate change adaptation approaches of what she calls the coastal organizational field in Louisiana. That is the set of organizations that have come together to ameliorate climate change-induced land loss. She looks at how the field has evolved over time and how it's increasingly come to be co-opted and dominated by oil and gas interests and their allies, exactly the same interests that are partially responsible for land loss in the first place. Based on more than 80 in-depth interviews and extensive participant observation, she also demonstrates how discourses within the organizational field, which reflect technocratic and engineering approaches to the problem of land loss, have elevated particular technical ways of addressing the problem, strategies that are rooted in utilitarian logics that support adaptation solutions that supposedly produce the greatest good for the greatest number. However, as she shows in her dissertation, these framings and strategies disadvantage historically marginalized populations, racial and ethnic populations, including Native American communities that depend on coastal resources for their livelihood. And this is despite the fact that the interests of those frontline communities have ostensibly been taken into account during the planning process. One of her key insights is that despite their stated goals of broad stakeholder engagement, climate change adaptation programs that seek input from vulnerable populations can still result in those populations being considered disposable and sacrificial.
Thank you, Dr. Tierney. I just want to say another word too, just to note that Simone has published her research in multiple academic journal articles and chapters in edited book volumes, and that impressively her research is already gaining the attention of major organizations that she seeks to inform. Notably, the National Advisory Council of the U.S. Federal Emergency Management Association, or FEMA, published a report recently imploring the agency to reform its disaster recovery programs in order to redress exactly these patterns of racial inequality that Simone herself has documented. And to make that argument, that report cited Simone's lead authored 2019 article in the American Review of Public Administration, in which she and her co-author demonstrated that FEMA's disaster recovery programs disproportionately benefit affluent white communities and hinder recovery for Black, Native American, Latinx, and other socially marginalized communities in need of recovery assistance. Simone, you are a bright and shining star. You have made the world a better place already through your work. You will continue to do so, and we are so very proud of you.
My name is Leslie Irvin, and I've had the pleasure of advising Hilary Steinberg's research for the PhD in sociology. Hilary's dissertation is entitled born and raised in pediatrics, becoming a patient in a children's hospital. Her research analyzes the social psychological impact of childhood illness, especially conditions that involve frequent, extended hospital stays. Hillary conducted the fieldwork for her dissertation at a major regional children's hospital. She went through the hospital's extensive training and onboarding process. Then she conducted over 300 hours of participant observation as well as interviewing patients. For a long time, research has assumed that children are simply adults in formation. Hillary's dissertation reveals them to be active agents in their own lives, influenced by social structures and institutions, but not completely determined by them. Hillary examined the circumstances under which children comply with adult-initiated directives and those in which they actively and creatively resist those directives. Hillary is organized, self-motivated, and creative, and I have enjoyed working with her immensely. Along with conducting ambitious research while also teaching, Hillary has been an invaluable member of the Department of Sociology, pitching in whenever and wherever we've needed help. Our Hillary is headed off to Philadelphia later this summer. She received a Health Services Research and Policy postdoctoral fellowship at the A.J. Drexel Autism Institute at Drexel University. I've known Hillary for 7 years, and it's going to be hard to say goodbye, but I'll send her off with my best wishes for a rewarding career. Congratulations, Hillary.
It is my absolute pleasure to introduce Kendra Clark and her dissertation research. Kendra hails from Emporia, Kansas. Before joining our doctoral program 6 years ago, she graduated from Baker University with a degree in sociology and participated in the Inside Out Prison Exchange program, which brings together students and prisoners to take semester-long courses together. She came to CU for her doctoral training in sociology, which was supported by the National Science Foundation, to address this grand experiment with mass incarceration in the United States. Her dissertation research expands on ideas that she developed when working on her master's thesis. She wanted to understand the direct and the collateral impacts of incarceration on people and created what she had called a cascade model. Because many scholars focus on the characteristics that people bring with them to the prison, demography, biography, personal dispositions, and how those characteristics bring about a unique prison culture known as the convict code. Other scholars, in contrast, they focus on the deprivations of the institution and how the convict code is an adaptation to the loss of life, liberty, and happiness in the institution. Kendra thinks bigger and broader than that. She focuses on the accumulation of experiences that accrue with exposure to the criminal justice system generally. And she's interested in her dissertation, not just in what occurs within the walls of the penitentiary, but what happens when people leave prison, the residuals of incarceration. And this is important because about 600,000 people exit prison every single year. They become our neighbors, our coworkers, religious congregants, and so on. Kendra was one of the core team members on the Lone Star Project, the Texas study of trajectories, associations, and reentry. This entailed us interviewing around 800 men in Texas prisons and re-interviewing them about 1 and 10 months after they were released. She used data from this study to test and expand her ideas on the cascading model. Kendra finds a great deal of continuity in the convict code that extends from prison to reentry back to the community. And she also found ways that prisons can help break this cycle in transitioning back to the street, namely prison programming, but especially good programming, the type of programming that prisoners find useful and valuable to reorient their lives for good. That programming helped bring about changes in criminogenic attitudes and beliefs that are associated with negative reentry experiences that ultimately undermine reintegration in the community. Kendra came to CU the same year I did, in 2015, and it has been nothing short of a pleasure to watch her grow as a person and a scholar, and ultimately produce a dissertation that is valuable to sociological research and practice. I hope she's as proud of it as I am as her. Congratulations, Kendra.
The Sociology Department's Outstanding Faculty Mentor Award was established by graduate students as a way of recognizing and appreciating the dedicated faculty who give their time and energy to supporting graduate students throughout the academic process. This year, Simone Domingue and I served as the selection committee, and we are extremely excited to give this year's award to Jason Boardman. The letters written in support of Jason were absolutely glowing, and we would like to touch on some of the main themes. First, students expressed their appreciation and admiration for how Jason supports all his students in his statistics classes. Letter writers marveled at his kind enthusiasm in the classroom. One student wrote, "The patience that Jason exhibits while teaching statistics is both profound and admirable. It is clear that his main goal is to ensure that all students learn the material." Another student wrote about how Jason's support through Data One was pivotal to their graduate career. This student recalled the following experience as particularly formative. "What really helped me was when I was presenting my findings on the last day of class. At the end of the semester presentation, Jason's eyes lit up and the corners of his mouth widened from ear to ear as he rushed up to where I was standing. His arms were extended and he shared very encouraging and kind words regarding my hard work, interesting findings, and my growth as a scholar. This sincere and kind gesture of pride, encouragement, and support is what he gives not just to me, but to so many students. It really makes a difference to know that there is a faculty member who takes so much pride and happiness in seeing their students truly grow as scholars." Students also expressed appreciation for how Jason makes himself available. They noted that he always answers their questions, gives constructive feedback on written work and statistical analyses, troubleshoots problems with them, and helps them prepare for professional presentations. Furthermore, students describe Jason as someone who treats them with respect, empathy, and dignity. One letter writer wrote, "He checks in on his students, takes the time to listen when they tell him about what is going on in their lives, and recognizes that there is more to life than graduate school." For these reasons, we are extremely happy to award Jason the 2020-2021 Outstanding Faculty Mentor Award. Congratulations, Jason.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Lori Hunter, and I'm a professor of sociology here at CU Boulder. I had the distinct pleasure of working with our honors students throughout this academic year. Let me explain a little bit about honors before I introduce the students. So the honors program in the College of Arts and Sciences is for high achieving students that meet particular GPA requirements and that are motivated to undertake an independent research project. The project lasts all year long. They work with a faculty advisor, myself as the honors coordinator, in addition to a committee member from outside the Department of Sociology. They design and implement their own research project, and you'll hear in a moment about the varied topics that they explore. It's driven by their own curiosity and their own interests. So last month, each defended their work in front of their faculty committee. They offered a summary presentation and they responded to questions. So I can't tell you how proud I am of each and every one of them and how amazing it has been to watch them grow into their own independent scholars over the course of this last year. So honors has 3 different levels based on the thesis work, the defense itself, in addition to the student's GPA. There's cum laude, magna cum laude, and summa cum laude, the last being the highest. So let me now tell you a bit about our fabulous students. So the first is Aubrey Nicole Bailey. Aubrey graduated magna cum laude. Her thesis was entitled "Bringing Restorative Justice to NCAA Football." Her faculty advisor was Professor Kyle Thomas. Aubrey's work focused on restorative justice, which is about learning from mistakes as opposed to punishment. She undertook interviews with football players and coaches here at CU Boulder, and her findings suggest that there is the potential for use of this method in NCAA sports. Especially impressive, she crafted a document that provided guidelines that might help with implementation of this new approach within the Football League. So our second student is Lonnie Marie Coburn Ewing. Her thesis title is "The Impact of Sex Education on LGBTQ+ Individuals." Lonnie graduated summa cum laude. Her faculty advisor was Jason Boardman. This was a very powerful thesis based on interviews with CU Boulder LGBTQ+ students about their experiences with sex ed in high school. Lonnie's findings clearly show that the lack of coverage of LGBTQ issues within the high school curriculum has profound effects physically and emotionally. Physically, students know little about non-heterosexual sexuality, and emotionally, students suffer from a feeling of being othered and basically ignored within this curriculum. Congratulations, Lonnie. Next, we have Natalie Yohalam Furtick, who graduated summa cum laude. Her thesis title was Motivations to Volunteer During a Pandemic, and her faculty advisor was Tim Wadsworth. Natalie provided or created some very useful findings based on a survey of hundreds of volunteers at a Colorado food bank. She was interested to learn if motivations to volunteer shifted within the context of a crisis like we are in right now. Her findings suggest that motivations vary instead most substantially by age, and her work provided really useful insight to the organization as they can now better tap into the motivations of prospective volunteers as they work to try to recruit. Congratulations, Natalie. Next is Samantha Holt Gunaratna. I'm so sorry, let me try that again. Gunaratna. Sammy graduated summa cum laude, and her faculty advisor was Stephanie Mulborn. Sammy's study was entitled, A Study of Vaccination Perspectives, Why Some Parents Choose Not to Vaccinate Their Children. Sammy did a great job with this project. She interviewed a variety of anti-vax parents. Her findings are obviously especially important in the context of COVID, and the interview data demonstrated many different reasons that people don't vaccinate, including the distrust of science, concern with testing, and belief in herd immunity. These insights can really help public health messaging, especially in the context of the current pandemic. Congratulations to you, Sammy. Next, we have Taylor Michael Hirschberg. Taylor's thesis was entitled Strategies Parents Use to Support Adolescent Climate Grief. Taylor graduated magna cum laude, and his faculty advisor was Lori Peak. Taylor's project rested on interviews with several parent-child pairs, and that shed light on adolescents' concern with climate change. He found that parents use a wide range of strategies to support their children, but that they were often unaware of the depth of their children's emotional distress about the future of the climate. Also, children in the study reported needing more actionable support regarding those feelings, like spending more time outside as a family and talking honestly about these concerns. So congratulations, Taylor. Our next student is Molly McKeechan, who graduated magna cum laude. So Molly's thesis is entitled Good and Bad Jobs in the Pandemic, Examining Impacts of COVID on the Nature of Work. Her faculty advisor was Professor Don Grant. Molly's work also tapped into this really unique historical moment, and she aimed to understand the different impacts COVID had on different groups of workers. She was inspired by the very own impacts that she saw across different friend groups and with herself. And now through a survey with nearly 200 US adults, she found important differences between white and blue collar workers, especially related to finances and health. There were really different impacts on workers' ability to maintain stability, resilience, and meaningfulness in their lives. Super important insight as we aim to support workers, especially those on the front lines. Congratulations to you, Molly. Our last student is Jensen Ashlyn Miller, who's graduating summa cum laude. Their thesis title was Regional Indigenous Relationships with the Natural World. Their faculty advisor was Liam Downey. Jensen undertook an ambitious examination of Indigenous environmental perspectives with an emphasis on not characterizing all groups the same way. Instead, they examined two tribal groups, one in the Pacific Northwest and the other in the Great Plains, to identify distinctions in their connections with the natural world. Jensen used tribal legends and tribal news and provided important insight into how an empathetic, reciprocal connection with nature is created and maintained. Their goal was to really amplify Indigenous voices in the face of catastrophic climate change. Congratulations, Jensen. So let me end by just emphasizing how impressed I am with these students and their ability to pull this out during this really challenging academic year. It has been an absolute delight to work with each and every one of them. And to you all, I super look forward to seeing what you do next. Congratulations.
Hi again, everybody. A huge congratulations to all of our graduates. You should be so proud of yourselves for this incredible accomplishment, including the fact that you've done so in one of the most difficult years in recent history. We are so proud of you. Congratulations to all of our graduates. We will now show a list of all of our undergraduates who are graduating this year.
That concludes our ceremony for today. I want to thank everyone for contributing to this important, memorable, and special occasion. I especially want to thank the graduation committee for organizing the event, and of course to all of you for watching. Life transitions and the marking of milestones can be good places to evaluate our lives, to think about what we've done and what we would like to do in the future, to think about what makes a meaningful or successful life. In that vein, I would like to end with both a quote and a poem. The quote comes from Ralph Waldo Emerson, an American philosopher, abolitionist, and poet from the 19th century, and offers his definition of a successful life. To laugh often and love much, to win the respect of intelligent persons and the affection of children, to earn the approbation of honest citizens and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to give of oneself, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To have played and laughed with enthusiasm and sung with exultation. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. And finally, a poem from Langston Hughes. Hughes was a poet, novelist, and playwright, and a primary figure in the Harlem Renaissance of the 1920s and 30s. The poem is titled Dreams. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. Again, congratulations, 2021 graduates. Hold fast to your dreams and may your lives be filled with happiness and success. Best wishes to all of you.